informal science education made delicious.
So I'm really excited today to tell you about a series of outreach events that we've been working on, all of which are rooted in our deep love of biodiversity. There are observations that there's a lack of communication about diversity out there, and that there's a lack of understanding about what biodiversity is and perhaps why it is really important. And so our answer to these is food, right? And food is an obvious answer to botanists. But food is wonderful. It makes it so accessible to everyone that we interact with because everyone's eating pretty regularly, right? And so we can immediately start that interaction. But I would like to also say that when you sit down to a meal with someone, you have instant communication, you have instant community, and let me add some confetti. You have a celebration, right? And so now we have this instant sort of celebratory learning environment that we think is just a phenomenal place to be in. So this is a series of outreach events that collectively we're calling the Taste of Life. And that's just what we do. We sit down with our participants, we enjoy a meal, and we talk about all of the diversity on their plate. Our key players are myself. I'm in the biology department at Eastern Michigan University. We have a dietitian and a nutritionist, Olivia Ford. We have two chemists, Corey Mall and Greg Wilmes. These guys have started a phenomenal fermentation sciences program. And not only do they make awesome things for our events, but they also hook us up into the phenomenal brewing scene, the brinery scene in Southeast Michigan. Lots of wonderful contacts there. And then Lauren Mohn did all of the work that I'm going to talk about today at a hospital-based farm. So she is housed at a farm across the street from our university. And this farm produces food for the hospital, right? Great idea for health. And then also their greenhouses are accessible to patients for rehabilitation and other things. So this is our core team here. And today I just want to summarize a few events, talk to you about some of our learning objectives and some outcomes. So we've got sort of three guiding principles that are driving us here. We need it to be affordable because we don't have any money, but we also want it affordable to others, right? We want it affordable for everyone coming to us and enjoying our outreach. We need the information accessible, and we need the events to be accessible. And then adaptability is super, super important. We want to be able to do this at a whole suite of venues. We want to do this with a few folks or a whole ton of folks and really sort of be able to adapt our learning, our outcomes to a whole bunch of different situations. Our events have four things that are always true. The first is that there is an extraordinary amount of collaboration. We cannot do this without a whole suite of partners throughout southeastern Michigan. So I'm going to try to give shout outs as I go through, but I just want to mention that this collaboration comes in many forms in just providing us space to have our events. Lots of undergraduate and graduate students have shared their expertise and their time to help us run these events. And then we're constantly buying all our produce and flowers from local farms. Okay, so we always have collaboration. We always have some sort of take-home educational material. So sometimes it's a a recipe. Sometimes it's a list of fun facts about the meal that folks can take home and share. And sometimes it's a list of next steps to promote pollinators in your backyard, right? So we're sort of doing lots of different things, but this is something that they can physically take home with them. They can also take home fun stuff, more fun stuff, I should say. So we've got lots and lots of door prizes at our events. So here are some glasses from a local meadery. But also, folks have taken home mushroom grow logs, the ridiculous species diversity we gave out at one event. I had never even heard of some of the taxa. And then here's some heirloom squash that we gave away. Again, donated by our partners. Last but not least, every event has a species list. An ingredient list. I call it an ingredient list at the beginning, and then by the end of the night, everyone's like, oh, that's a species list, right? And that's just a really different way to start thinking about what's on our plates. So here's an example of a species list. So this is a poster. It's enormous. People they can't ignore it, right? It's sort of, in some ways, it's got it phylogenetically organized. They may not know that, right? But the other thing I do is I tally it up. And I say, by the end of tonight, you're going to eat, if you eat everything on your plate, 80-something species. And because we know the local producers and we communicate so much with them, we can talk about the microbes. We can talk about the archaea that are in their kimchi and what's going on in their cheese. And so again, that's a really cool way to start putting this all together. So our first event, we called a strolling dinner in 5 parts. This is a 5-course meal. Each course was devoted to a particular major lineage of life. It was free to everyone who came. We held it in the basement of our building, brought in a bunch of plants, and 35 people came. Pretty much equal numbers of faculty, administrators, students, community members, and a few staff were able to make it on that cold January night. Most folks said that the event had increased their knowledge of how food relates to biodiversity, that those two things are connected. Speak a moment to affordability. So all of the events I'm going to tell you about today are funded by 2 tiny grants totaling $4,000 that I got from my university. And that's only possible because of all of the extraordinary donations that we get at every event. So these are folks who provided donations for the event that I was just speaking of, but lots and lots and lots of other folks have stepped up and been really enthusiastic to help. So our second event, we capitalized on an event that was already happening. We didn't have to do anything, any planning. It was phenomenal. But essentially, my university has this long-standing tradition to bring 800 people from across campus and sit down for Thanksgiving. And so we just set up some educational tables. A local farm provided Arc of Taste heirloom squash, and we were immediately engaging with folks walking by about gardening, about recipes, about cultural history with squash. Over here we have some potato plants. Hey, you know, plants, this is what they look like, right? And then we had a game called Name That Scent, where folks we provided all of the herbs and spices from Thanksgiving dinner and hid them from their sight, and they had to use their nose to start identifying them. I love this. This is why I go to college. Thank you, right? Okay, we've done our job. We've just had so much enthusiasm, so many people just stopping by and enjoying it. Right? And so it was immediately accessible. People had enjoyed this meal. They had been to this event. We were not asking them to try anything new. We weren't asking anything, right? We were just giving a little bit more information. And then just want to speak to this too. It was so great. We not only were talking to students and faculty and the president of the university, but we were talking to the key makers and the police officers. Everyone was there, and we were talking about squash with them. The last event I wanted to mention is our pollination celebration. And again, this is a really different event. So we held it at a local coffee and tap house out in our garden. We started with a cocktail hour. We had 6 educational tables throughout the garden. People came to each table and learned about a different pollination mechanism. And then we sat down to eat. And here is a menu designed for 6 pollination mechanisms. And the foods, the fruits that result as a result. So we had the bee pollinated course. We had the bat pollinated course, so this is a local chef who did this whole menu with some crazy, bizarre restraints. He called this Vampire's Prowess, right? I never could come up with that. And then we had a dessert, vanilla dessert, right? And thinking about organic pollination. Each of these courses were paired with a local mead or cider or beer. And we had a fermentation guy talking about the drinks. We had someone talking about the pollination. We had the chef talking about the food. 72 people came, we sold out, and 72 people bought tickets. It's a totally new way for us to think, but long term we're thinking that this is how we're going to be able to fund events that we can keep free. We had lots of folks from our university, lots of folks from the University of Michigan down the street, but I love this yellow portion here. These are nearly 40% of folks not affiliated with either university, just community members coming, and we're happy that we were able to reach them and have them there. So before the event, lots of folks had already considered about how the diversity of food they eat depends on the diversity of pollinators that exist. But we got a few folks to move and think about it a lot more. And so that was really nice to see. This is our favorite quote ever. It was such a wonderful community event. Serious information presented in a super fun, socially interactive way. Right? We are talking about real science. We're talking about it in really accurate ways. But we're also having this celebration while we do it. Adaptable. So we held this event at a place called Cultivate, but we've already sort of reworked the event to hold it at a different venue called Growing Hope, in a different season with a different chef, so we can reuse our curriculum. Right, it was a lot of work, but now we can sort of reach different audiences in different places. So we really are working to improve our evaluation. We have some new opportunities for multi-site delivery and then some comparisons across those sites. We're always excited to have new collaborations, and we're working to share our materials and our experiences.